Do you know that the football that we watch today is actually an improved version of the game that was originally invented? There have been multiple changes made to the sport. For example, the penalty kick was introduced in the year 1891. Similarly, other rules have changed, like the yellow card and the red card were introduced in the FIFA World Cup in 1970, hosted by Mexico. Despite of these changes, the game still has many flaws, many problems, which require logical solutions. So, what are these problems that we are referring to? The game is near perfect, isn't it? Well, listen to the problems that we have listed down. I'm sure you'll change your mind. Problem number 1. By several reports, the game is not actually played for 90 minutes. That's right. The average time for which the ball is actually in play is somewhere between 55 to 60 minutes. For the rest of the time, the ball is out of play. Yes, this is because of several reasons like time wasting, medical attention, delayed throw-ins, etc. Time wasting has become an enemy of the sport, to an extent that now teams have started relying on the tactic of time wasting and started using it as a strategy to win games. The reality is that there are more players who whine than those who shine. And this is a genuine problem. What is the logical solution? Problem number 2. There is nothing in between a yellow card and a red card. Well, we all know what a yellow card signifies. It is a warning. And a second yellow card means the player is sent off for the rest of the game. And the team becomes one man short. This may not seem so much of a problem. It in fact looks like a solution. But the problem is real. There have been several cases in football where the referees have refused to give a second yellow card, knowing that the player is already booked, and giving him another yellow would mean that the team will be down to 10 men. At the same time, there have also been cases that a player has been given 2 yellow cards and is sent off for 2 simple fouls, and the receiving team becomes one man short. This problem is genuine. There has to be a logical solution to fix this issue. Problem number 3. The penalty taker is undecided, meaning any player of the team can step up and choose to take a penalty. Now, this technically isn't a problem, but in reality changes the entire game because the several players are chasing the Golden Boot award. That's right, the award for the highest scorer in the league or in the competition. This award is given to the player who scores the most number of goals regardless of how he got them. There is no straightforward rule stopping a player from taking all the penalties for the season, and there have been several cases where players have won the Golden Boot award because they took and converted every single spot kick their team got. Problem number 4. Every handball is a penalty. There are several questions around this. Was the ball going to hit the target? Was it an intentional handball? Did the player have the time to remove his hand from a position? Was the hand in an unnatural position? Well, the reality is that none of these things matter. If the ball comes in contact with the hand, then it is a penalty, regardless of what you think, what I think, or what the players on the field think. And giving a penalty for a handball is really unfair. There has to be a logical solution for this. And finally, the last problem that we'll discuss in this video, teams keeping hold of the possession, passing the ball sideways repeatedly, keeping the ball in their box, playing the game sideways, and not attacking the opponents just so that they can run down the clock. For various reasons, this is a problem. It may not be a direct problem because, well, it's well within the sport to keep hold of possession, but then again, who wants to see a 90-minute game where the ball is just being passed from side to side and no real attacks are being made? So what can football do about these problems? Well, the answer is actually simple. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just learn from other sports. There are so many sports around who work on the same principles and who have already found logical solutions to similar problems. Let's try and look at these solutions and how they can be applied to football to make it a better game. Solution number 1. When the ball is not in play, the clock timer should be automatically stopped, meaning there has to be a person or a referee controlling the timer. You do not need to keep the clock running. As you can see in hockey, when the ball goes out of play, the timer stops. It does not matter for how long the ball is out of play. As far as the ball remains out, the clock remains stopped. There is a special referee who keeps track of this timer. As soon as the ball returns back in play, the timer is started. There is no question whatsoever of how much time needs to be added because there is simply no added time. The clock can actually be seen as it is displayed on screens, so no one can actually argue about it. And most importantly, there is no concept of added time, and therefore there is no scam of how many minutes were actually played on the field. At the end of the half, the hooter is sounded to inform everyone that the half is ended. I mean, come on, how difficult can it be to have a referee control the timer for you? You anyway have special referees for VAR who are sleeping all the time, making wrong decisions. You might as well have them control the timer. At least they'll be of some use. Solution number 2. What about the yellow card and the red card? Well, we suggest introducing a third card known as the green card. This green card is actually taken from hockey. Again, well, it's a very well thought sport to be honest. So, how does a green card work? Well, a green card is actually a suspension for a player for 5 minutes and not for the entire game. Meaning, the first yellow card is a warning, the second yellow card would mean the player gets suspended for 5 minutes. And then if the player comes back on and makes a third infringement, then he will get a third yellow card, which would then eventually go on to be a red card. This way, a player is not suspended for more than 5 minutes and the team has to defend for 5 minutes by one man down, but they can still recover from it. Solution number 3. For the penalty taker. Well, we recommend that the player who was fouled in the box must be the player to take the penalty in each and every case. This has been taken from basketball. This is very clear. The player who has been fouled must be the one to take the spot kick. This way, the Golden Boot award becomes an award for an actual top scorer of the league. Well, if that player did get fouled and he goes up to win the Golden Boot, that's fine. But in most cases, players will have to earn their goals to get that Golden Boot, and that is what we want. Moving on. Every handball is a penalty. What's the logical solution to this? Well, brace yourselves, because this is again a solution from hockey. We would like to introduce the penalty corner. In hockey, it is not allowed to kick the ball with the foot. So in case a player does end up kicking the ball or the ball does touch the player's foot, it is a penalty corner and not a penalty. So what is this penalty corner? Here's how it works. So the corner is not taken all the way from the flag, but it is taken from midway. Now, the defending team cannot defend with all the defenders. In hockey, they are allowed only 5 defenders, meaning 4 players and 1 keeper. Next, the attackers are not allowed to be man-marked by the defenders. Therefore, the defenders have to stand behind the goal line while the ball is out of play. As soon as the ball comes into play, the defenders can rush out to defend. But initially, the starting position is behind the goal. Once the attacker receives the ball, he has to make sure that his first touch is outside the box. That's right, this creates space between the attackers and the defenders. After the first touch has been taken, the attackers can move inside the box and take a shot on goal. Now, I understand this is not a perfect solution, but look at the pros of this. Implementing such a rule would mean that the attacking team does get a chance to put a shot on goal, but at the same time, the defending team is not helpless and the keeper is not the only one defending. This is way more logical than the current rule where everyone gets a penalty regardless of what the situation was. What's more interesting to learn is that penalty corners are actually a lot more fun because they add strategy to the game. Several players go for a direct shot, some go for a scoop, some go for a pass. There are various ways of scoring from a penalty corner, and that's what makes the game beautiful. I'm sure you would also want to see some of these strategic goals being scored in football, wouldn't you? I agree that 5 defenders are less, considering the size of a football goal is way bigger than that of a hockey goal. We would recommend 7. I don't mind, as far as you change the current rule. And finally, to the last recommendation for this video, how do we solve the problem of sideways passing? How do you make the teams attack? How do you make sure the game is more interesting and more attacking rather than just sideways passing? Here's how it is. Adding a shot timer to football. That's right. I want FIFA to add a shot timer to football. This has been taken from basketball. For a complete video on how the shot timer would work, please subscribe to our channel. It is really unfortunate to know that FIFA does not have the time to learn from other sports to make football better. We would be very happy if FIFA takes some of our suggestions or even one of our suggestions seriously and implements them in the game to make it more fair for the players and the fans. See you soon.